Hello and welcome to this week's episode of For the Love of Chiropractic. I'm your host, Dr. Robert Freeman, and if you're one of our long-term listeners in one of the 15 countries from around the world, from one of the over 350 cities where this program is being listened to, I want to sincerely thank you for being part of the show, sharing the message, and telling other people so we can continue to grow the chiropractic profession. If you're new to the show, welcome. I encourage you to hit subscribe, leave us a 5-star review because the podcast gods really like that, and share the message with other people. And I encourage you to scroll back into the library of the almost 40 episodes that give you so much information about how to improve your practice. Everything from the patient experience to the optimum front desk CA, a great floor CA, all different aspects of business, money, and everything it takes to run a successful chiropractic practice and be even more successful in today's world. On today's show, we're going to take a deeper dive into something called that patient visit average, how you and your patients interact visit by visit over the long term. So let's get started with today's show. Welcome to another episode of For the Love of Chiropractic. I'm your host, Dr. Robert Freeman. I've been in practice for over 30 years, and I continue to work in a $1 million practice that I built, ran, and sold. I've taught, lectured, and coached our profession, and helped so many chiropractors build the practice and the life of their dreams. And now, I want to help you do the same. So here's today's show. Today we're going to be talking about how long your patients choose to use you and your practice as a resource for their good health. In our world, that statistic is called PVA, Patient Visit Average. And while we've talked about PVA on previous episodes, today we're going to dig in a whole lot deeper on how to raise the PVA, why to raise the PVA, and figure out if you really even need to. So first off, when you talk about raising PVA, it has nothing to do with, keeping them around longer. That is not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is it's based on your deepest philosophy of health. It's your deepest philosophy of health care. And you asking the hard question of how to help optimize people's health. And then that relates to the chiropractic care that you're providing. And if you're a dedicated doctor of chiropractic physician, somewhere deep down, we'd all love to say that removing the vertebral subluxation is the most important aspect of health, and that's the thing that really keeps people healthy. But if we stop and look deeper and really question it ourselves, we know that's not completely true. And the reason that we know it's not completely true is because as chiropractors, we know that the body works from an above, down, inside out standpoint. And that above, down, inside out, ADIO, means that what's going on in the brain is the first and most important aspect of health. So your mental attitude. I'm sure you've noticed that patients who are worried get sick more. People who are nervous have high blood pressure more often. These are things that are coming from the brain and causing the body to be sick, to act in a different way than it's supposed to be. So if indeed the person's mental attitude is number one, what do we do as chiropractors? We're connecting what's going on in the brain with how the body should be working, and obviously returning the information back to the brain of what the body's doing so the brain can then again make adjustments to it and continue to function the way the brain is telling the body that it should be. So once you've figured out how you relate to this whole process, what it is you're providing to the patient, what your office does to help people, then when new patients come in, when people come into the office, you need to find out what is their goal, and you need to tell them the options. They need to understand what the potential options are for their care. And what I mean by that is most people come into the office and say, well, I have a pain, I want to get out of pain. So if we leave the conversation there, the dealing with the pain is all we're dealing with. You know, if you're hungry and you show up at any restaurant, I just want some food because I'm hungry. Give me some food. I just want food. Well, there's lots of things on the menu. What is it that you want? You're having a bigger conversation about what it is you're providing. So when a patient comes into the office because they have a pain and they want to be out of pain, at the appropriate time, which can be at the conclusion of the history or at the conclusion of the examination or during the report of findings, depends on the specific case and what we're talking about, as well as the communication style of the patient that we're dealing with. But as I said, at the appropriate time, you can lay out what's on the menu, so to speak. Yes, we can help you by getting rid of your pain. Is there also an opportunity to correct the underlying problem? That's a clinical decision, a clinical call that you need to make based on the specific case of the person you're working with. Is it possible to help them so that they can do all the things that they want to do and for them to go on living their life so they don't have to keep worrying about this happening again? So depending on what's on your chiropractic menu in your office, you have the opportunity to help them build a program to truly stay healthy. And maybe that goes beyond simply removing their vertebral subluxations. Maybe that goes beyond changing the muscle tone and elasticity and their overall flexibility. Maybe it includes things like an exercise program, whether that program is in your office, at home, or in a gym of some kind. Maybe it's talking about proper sleep, the bed, the pillow, the number of hours of sleep they should be getting so the body can heal and repair. Obviously, it's also talking about the chiropractic care that you're providing based on what it is you're providing them with. Is it relief, relief and correction, relief, correction and strengthening, or what I believe is the perfect nirvana of relief, correction, strengthening, and maintenance care? And if the person is open to you helping them with all of these things, the other aspects to discuss also include things like nutrition. Can you be of help to them nutritionally? And what about their attitude? Them having a positive mental attitude. Because where we started this piece of the conversation was the most important piece of health comes from the brain and a positive mental attitude. So if you can help them have a better attitude about life, about the way they deal with stress, all of the other pieces start to fall into place. And being the chiropractor is more than just moving the bone off the nerve. And while that's incredibly important, obviously we all agree there's a lot more to it than just that. So raising the patient visit average of the practice really comes down to being a bigger resource for the patient, for the person, and helping them by being a lifelong resource for them, their family, and their friends. So you're the go-to person with any of these aspects of health. But how do we translate this into actionable steps in the office? So that's what we're going to spend our time talking about now. So first off, the patients have to understand that keeping their appointments schedule, the frequency of appointments that you've determined they need is of paramount importance. That doesn't mean being a hard ass about the exact appointment time, days and times. No, in fact, just the opposite. I think your office needs to be incredibly user-friendly. You need to be able to tell patients they can easily move their appointments around if they need to. Go ahead and set your normal time for Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 11 a.m., and feel free to call to change the time to a later time or earlier time in that day if you need to, or even move it plus or minus a day. And yes, it's okay to get adjusted 2 days in a row if that seems appropriate for the care that you're providing for that person based on what's going on. In fact, for decades, I've told patients, go ahead and set your appointment time. Call 17 times to move it around if you need to, because once you have time on my schedule, there's time blocked off for you for today. I can move that around a little bit earlier, a little bit later, a lot earlier, a lot later, whatever needs to be done. As long as we have time blocked off for you, I can nudge other people to make that work also. That makes you user-friendly, and people are more likely to keep their appointments and be part of the team to help them get where they want to go. Now, in order for that piece to work, the staff has to know and understand the mission of the office. Your mission for the office. You're the owner of it. And as the owner of the practice, the visionary of the practice, the staff works directly with you, and they need to understand they're part of the team. They're part of the team that makes it all work. Your job is to show up and be the best you can be the best doctor you can be, and provide the best care you possibly can. And as you're being the best version of you, their job is to try and keep up with you. Try and keep up and draft with me, to use a race car analogy, so that we're helping as many people as we can be as healthy as possible and rise to the level of expertise that we're discussing right now. And when your staff is really on board and understand the mission, they are happy to help people move their appointments around, even if they're calling 17 times. Oh, Sue, you're calling again. No problem. What's happening now? They know what's going on in their lives. Moving it around, no problem. I'll make sure I let Doc know. And we'll see you later today at 5 o'clock. Because the staff, when they're really on board, they understand that they're acting as your eyes and your ears. We as doctors have one set of eyes and ears, so we see things from a certain way. The staff has the ability to see them from a different point of view and gives us a greater vantage point of how to better help the person, because they know what's going on with the person in a way that we don't have the opportunity of knowing. We didn't get to talk to Sue 17 times on the phone today. But wouldn't it be nice if you knew that Sue was coming in at 5 o'clock today because there was an issue with the kid and there was an issue with the dog and the cat got out and they couldn't find the cat and all of these different things that are occurring, so that when you walk into the room, you can already start with, wow, you've had quite a day. You're already in rapport with the patient. Because ultimately, that's your job. When you walk into the room with the patient, yes, you're there to provide phenomenal chiropractic care. Your job is to get into rapport with the person as quickly as possible. So you've assessed where they are in their day, where they are in their life. And then, in conjunction with doing the chiropractic adjustments that you're doing and the soft tissue or the other things you're doing in the room physically, you're also having a conversation with them to help them learn more about how they can be as healthy as possible. Whether it's by providing them a video link that they can watch later, or a structured chiropractic patient curriculum, certain drip education that you're giving them on a visit-by-visit basis, so that, they're learning more, whether it's discussing aspects of nutrition, whatever it may be that's appropriate based on what's going on that visit, to help them have a better day, have a better week, and be better and have a better life. I mentioned providing a video link a minute ago. And in years past, we used to do something called a healthcare workshop or a new patient orientation class. And that was a class held usually on a Tuesday or Wednesday evening at the end of office hours. And it would go on for anywhere from 30 to 60 minutes, where you'd give people all the information that they need about how to get healthier faster and stay healthier longer. And in today's world, it's much more difficult to get people to pay attention to anything for 30 or 60 minutes. But the live in-person opportunity is still outstanding and one of the best ways to help give people the information. So I recommend planning a 15-minute session, 20 at the most. Have it at the end of office hours, still on, ideally a Wednesday. Person comes in for the regular appointment. They stick around for just an additional 15 minutes, and they can get the information about, this is the bigger view of chiropractic. This is the bigger view of how you can be optimally healthy. It's bullet point, it's fast, it's right to the point. You can even record it for people who can't be there, put it up on YouTube so they can watch it at home. And if you decide you're going to do that, I think it's a great idea to have a surprise gift at the end of that little short presentation. So I'd close out with something like, thank you so much for taking the time to watch the healthcare workshop as part of your chiropractic care here at our office. When you come into the office, if you mention to the doctor that you watched and enjoyed the class, he'll have a special gift for you. And I think that special gift could be something small like a spine keychain or some other little promotional item that says something about your practice that they can have and use on a daily basis. So having said that, now I want to spend some time talking about the relationship that you have with the patient, the opportunity that you have for the relationship with the patient. And this is important for lots of different reasons, but specifically on this topic of patient visit average and providing healthcare to people. The reason the relationship is important is because anything that you're trying to communicate with and to the patient for their good health, for their benefit, coming from you, they have to buy the messenger before they'll even listen to the message. Well, how do they buy the messenger? Well, here are the steps. Number one, you got to be likable. If you're not likable, they don't want to listen to you. Imagine taking advice from somebody you don't like or even respect. It just isn't going to happen. So where does being likable come from? Well, number one, you need to be positive. When you're in the room with a person, when you're talking to the patient, you need to be positive. And that doesn't mean in a false or fake way, but bringing optimism and opportunity is something that they want and need and deserve. In addition to that, you want to be interested. You need to be interested in them and what it is that they're talking about, what it is that they're going to be doing that they need help with, and that's why they're there in the first place. If you want to be over the top, you know what? You can be curious. Be willing to learn from the patient on things that they're expert in, because people are much more willing to listen once they've been heard and they know that they are being listened to. And now it's a free exchange of information. I'm an expert on certain things, your health and how you can be healthy, and you're an expert on certain things that I don't know, and I'd love to learn about that. And along the way, you as the doctor get to learn about things that you didn't know before to help you be even more knowledgeable that you can even discuss with other patients. So what I'm talking about is really being an expert when it comes to communication. Not just patient communication, communicating with other people. Did you know that if you finish a sentence with a period, you are ending conversation? And when you end a sentence with a question mark, you're continuing the conversation. So you can easily modulate how the conversations are going to be going in the treatment room. Here's the point, period, end of sentence. Here's the point. Does that make sense? Do you know how you're going to move forward? Question mark. Continue. And along with that is the use of maximizing and minimizing words. It's just a small problem. We're going to take just a few minutes. I want to make sure I take all the time necessary to answer all of your questions. By using words like just, a little, and a few, you're minimizing whatever it is you are talking about. Versus using words like all, plenty, and huge, you're maximizing it. So I've had clients over the years that when they learn to do a report of findings, they say something like, oh, so on your next visit, we'll take a few minutes to go over your results so you know what's going on. I think it's a much better approach to say on your next visit, we'll make sure we have all the time necessary so I can go over all of your test results with you so you know everything that's going on. And I'll even say to the front desk person, make sure I have plenty of time to answer all of Sue's questions when we have our next visit. Because we don't want the patients to feel rushed. We want to make sure we do answer all of their questions. And we want them to know that they are really important, because they are. So the final point on raising patient visit average is as long as you are really interested in helping this person, in helping them be as healthy as they possibly can be, they will remain interested also. Because patients drop out of care shortly after the doctor gets bored with the care that's being provided. If you're anxious and excited about helping them and continuing to help them be healthier and get better, guess what? They are also. Versus when it gets to the point that you really don't care about seeing them, guess what? They really don't care about seeing you, and suddenly their chiropractic care with your office becomes less important. Maybe they go see another chiropractor. Maybe they don't go see anybody else at all, and then their health suffers. All right, and that's our show for today. If you have a question about today's show or your own practice, feel free to reach out at fortheloveofchiropractic.com. Before making changes to your practice, be sure to seek legal advice regarding those changes and regulations in your state. For the Love of Chiropractic is an RGF production, all rights reserved. And thanks for listening. Original music provided by Hunter Rich Music.